In this video, I will teach you how to create a flashlight which you can switch on and off in Unreal Engine 5. First, we're going to create the flashlight blueprint. So go to the content browser, right click, go to blueprint, then select actor. Name this BP_flashlight. Open it, then press the add button and search for a skeletal mesh. You may need to add a static mesh instead, depending on what kind of asset you're using for the flashlight. Name this flashlight. Next, go to the drop down in the details panel and select your flashlight asset. Next, click the add button again and search for a spotlight. Rotate this to face the same direction as the flashlight, then make sure it's positioned just in front of it. You can make changes to the spotlight here, but we'll come back to this later. Next, go to the event graph and delete these events. We're going to keep the majority of the functionality within the flashlight blueprint rather than the character blueprint, as this is good practice. Right click and create a custom event. Call this toggle flashlight. This will be triggered from the character blueprint to turn the flashlight on and off. We'll come back to this later, but for now, go to the content browser and locate your character blueprint. Open it, then in some space, right click and add an event begin play. We need to spawn and attach the flashlight blueprint to the player's hand at the start of the game, so drag off and search for a spawn actor from class. Go to the drop down and search for our flashlight blueprint. Next, drag in your character mesh. Drag off it and search for Get World Transform. Connect this to the Spawn Transform pin. Next, right click on the Return Value pin and promote it to a variable. Call this Flashlight. Drag off here and search for an Attach Actor to component. Drag in your character mesh and connect it to the parent. Next, we need to make a socket on the character mesh's hand which we can attach the flashlight to. To add a socket, we first need to locate the character's skeleton. An easy way to find this is to click on the character mesh, then click this Browse to Asset button, then open the skeletal mesh, then click this button to open the skeleton. To add a socket, you first need to find the bone for the hand you want to hold the flashlight with. Select it, then click the plus button, and then click Add Socket. Rename this socket to flashlight_socket. Next, we're going to need the exact name in our character blueprint, so the safest way to do this is to double click and copy it. Then save and go back to the character blueprint, and paste it into the socket name. Next, we need to set all of these to snap to target. Compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play. As you can see, the torch is now attached to the player's hand, however it is not positioned in the correct place. To fix this, we need to go back to the character skeleton. Go to the preview animation drop down and select your holding torch animation. Next, we want to add a preview of our flashlight so that we can see how it looks in the player's hand. To do this, right click on the socket, go to Add Preview Asset and select your flashlight asset. Rotate and move the socket around until the flashlight is positioned perfectly in the player's hand. Save this, then go back to the viewport and press play. Now the player should be holding the flashlight in their hand. You will also see that the spotlight is now lighting up objects in the scene. Now we're going to give the player the ability to turn the flashlight on and off. First, we need to add an input. Go to the content browser and locate your Input Actions folder. Right click, then go to Input and then Input Action. Call this IA_flashlight. The value type of this input should be digital ball. Save it, then close it. Next, locate your input mapping context. Open it, then expand this and click the Add button. Go to the drop down and select the flashlight input action. Expand this, then click the keyboard button and then select a key off your keyboard that you want to use for the flashlight. I'm going to use F. Save this, then go back to the player character. In some space, right click and search for your flashlight input action. Expand it. Drag in your flashlight variable and get it. Drag off it and search for the toggle flashlight event we made in the flashlight blueprint. Connect this to the started pin. This will trigger the toggle flashlight event every time the F key is pressed. Compile and save, then go to the flashlight blueprint. This is where we're going to turn the light on and off. Often people use a flip-flop node for this. When this is triggered, it alternates between two different outputs. So off the A output, you'd have the light turning on, and off the B output, you'd have the light turning off. However, there is a better way of doing this using a branch. To do this, add a new variable and call it isOn. Make sure this is set to a boolean. The variable is set to false by default, which is what we want. Drag the variable in and get it. Drag off and add a branch. Connect it to the toggle flashlight event. Next, drag in the spotlight. Drag off it and search for set visibility. Leave the new visibility set to false, then connect this to the true pin. Copy and paste this below, then connect it to the spotlight and the false pin. Set the new visibility to true. Next, drag in the isOn variable and set it to true. Connect it after where the light is turned on. Drag it in again and leave it as false. Connect this after where the light is turned off. This method ensures that if the flashlight is on, it will always turn off, and if it is off, it will always turn back on. Save, then go to the Viewport tab and click on the spotlight. In the Details panel, search for Visible and set this to false. This means that our flashlight will initially be turned off. Save, then go back to the viewport and press play. Now when you press your input, the flashlight will toggle on and off. As you can see, there's a floating shadow of the flashlight on the floor, which we don't want, so we're going to fix this now. Go back to the flashlight blueprint and select the mesh. In the Details panel, search for Shadow and set Cast Shadow to false. Next, I'll show you how to make the light coming from the flashlight look more realistic. Click on the spotlight and go to the Light section of the Details panel. Here you can change values such as intensity, which I'm going to lower slightly. You can set the colour of the light here, but to make it more realistic, I'm going to use temperature. Enable using temperature, then you can change the value here. If you use a lower value, you'll get a warmer colour. If you set the value to something higher, you'll get a cooler colour. Something around 7000 is good for what I want. Increasing the attenuation radius will mean that the light reaches further. Something around 600 is good. Adding an inner cone angle adds a brighter centre to the light, which makes the torch look more realistic. I'm going to use 10. Finally, the outer cone angle is how wide the beam of light is. Something around 25 looks good. If you compile and save, then go back to the viewport and press play, you will see that the light is looking a bit more realistic, particularly because of that inner cone angle. For a final touch, we're going to add a sound effect for when the flashlight is turned on and off. Open the flashlight blueprint and go to the event graph. Before the branch, drag off and add a play 2D sound. Go to the drop down and select your flashlight button clicking sound effect. Now when you compile and save and go back to the viewport and press play, you will have a fully working flashlight which you can switch on and off in Unreal Engine 5. If this video helped you, please feel free to like and subscribe or support me on Patreon so that I can keep making these Unreal Engine tutorials. Thank you so much for watching.